At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu. At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where Release the Epstein Files, this is Ballot.
That's right. Release the Epstein Files and let's hit this. I'm Patrick Gutfield, and the White House announced that President Trump has been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, which sounds like something you'd make up to get out of gym class. The condition causes mild swelling in his lower legs, and they're calling it benign and common for people over 70. You know what else is common for people over 70? Complaining about young people and falling asleep during movies, but apparently we're not diagnosing those yet. It's a good way to get people to stop talking about the Epstein files, except release the Epstein files. Meanwhile, Trump nominated Emil Bove to be a federal appeals court judge. And let me tell you, this guy's got more baggage than a Kardashian on vacation. The Senate Judiciary Committee had a vote on his nomination. But here's the thing. The Democrats walked out before the vote happened. That's like leaving a restaurant before ordering and then complaining about the service. The Republican and Democratic leaders can't even agree on whether the vote was valid, which is basically Washington's version of, did that actually count? But wait, there's more. He's accused of dropping corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams in what critics are calling a quid pro quo deal involving immigration matters. He's also accused of encouraging Justice Department employees to defy court orders that halted deportations. And in other news, the Senate passed a bill overnight to cut $9 billion from public broadcasting and foreign aid. $9 billion. That's like cutting funding for Big Bird while also telling other countries, sorry, you're on your own. Also, release the Epstein files. President Trump is considering an executive order that would require federal authorities to figure out whether college athletes can be considered employees of their schools. Now, this is a question that's been bouncing around college sports for years. Kind of like a football that nobody wants to catch because they know they're going to get tackled. The draft order calls on the Secretary of Labor and the National Labor Relations Board to determine and implement the appropriate measures with respect to clarifying the status of collegiate athletes. That's government speak for please figure this out so we don't have to. The order says the employment status should maximize the educational benefits and opportunities schools can provide. Which sounds nice until you realize we're talking about institutions that charge $50,000 a year for the privilege of eating cafeteria food. College sports leaders and Republican lawmakers have been trying to block athletes from getting employee rights for years now. Their argument? Many athletic departments couldn't afford the added costs. Which is interesting, considering these same departments somehow found the money to pay football coaches $7 million a year. But sure, paying the players is where we draw the line. The news caught everyone by surprise this week, which in Washington means we leaked it on purpose, but we're pretending we didn't. Sources are saying Trump might not even go through with this executive order, making it the political equivalent of, maybe we'll go to that restaurant, maybe we won't, and maybe this will distract you from asking about the Epstein files.
What if everything you've been taught about happiness is wrong? We chase careers, approval, more stuff, hoping it'll finally make us feel fulfilled, but it never sticks. What if happiness isn't out there, but already inside you, just waiting to be unlocked? Discover the book, The Happiness Experiment. Every person has a unique happiness type, and when you understand yours, everything shifts. You'll stop chasing and start creating joy on your own terms. Discover your happiness type with a free happiness type assessment. Go to myhappinesstype.com. That's myhappinesstype.com. It takes just a minute and it might change your life. Then grab your copy of The Happiness Experiment at Books A Million. This isn't just a book, it's a practical framework, a journey inward. It's a tool to help you reconnect with the happiness that's been waiting inside you all along. Pick up The Happiness Experiment and start your happiness experiment today.
Boy, nobody ever mentions the Epstein files. President Trump is facing some serious heat from his own supporters over the Jeffrey Epstein files, and his response has been to call the whole thing a hoax while blaming the Biden administration. This is like burning dinner and then claiming the smoke detector is biased. In a phone interview with Just the News on Real America's Voice, which might actually be less known than this podcast, Trump alleged, without providing evidence that Democrats and former officials doctored files relating to the disgraced financier. He said, "I can imagine what they put into files just like they did with the others." Now, when someone says, "I can imagine," that's usually code for, "I have no proof, but I'm going to say it anyway." Like, for example, I can imagine whose name is in the Epstein files and why that person doesn't want them released. Here's the problem with Trump's theory. Many of the documents relating to Epstein, including those that mention Trump and several prominent Democrats, have been public for years. Saying Democrats doctored files that were already public is like claiming someone edited a movie that's already in theaters. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt shut down the idea of appointing a special prosecutor in the Epstein case, saying, "The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels." That makes sense. I would recommend no state troopers work the Garden State Parkway tonight as I do 110 on my way to my shore house. Trump has now shifted to calling Republican supporters who are questioning his administration's handling of this as stupid and foolish. He said, "Some of the naive Republicans fall right into line like they always do." That's right. Trump is now calling his own supporters naive for believing the same conspiracy theories he's been promoting. Portions of today's program were made with the help of AI and without the help of the Epstein files.
From the creators of Palace Intrigue, a new chapter in royal history begins. William and Kate's wedding captures the world's attention, but royal life isn't as perfect as it seems. Tensions rise as Harry meets Meghan, sparking a divide that will shake the monarchy to its core. From explosive interviews to family scandals, the royal family faces its most public challenges ever. As King Charles takes the throne, the future of the monarchy hangs in the balance. Family secrets, royal rifts, and the future of the crown. Crown and Controversy, wherever you get your podcasts.
Feuds. Power, Pride, and Payback. A new podcast from Calaroga Shark Media takes you inside the most explosive rivalries that shaped our world. From Hollywood's bloodiest breakups to political wars that toppled empires, Marvel versus DC, Trump versus Musk, the royal family's nuclear meltdown, Brangelina's 8-year courtroom carnage. These aren't just celebrity spats. They're billion-dollar battles that redefined entertainment, politics, and culture forever. Host Marcus Reed reveals the secrets, betrayals, and revenge plots that turned allies into enemies and love into warfare. When titans collide, everyone gets hurt. When pride meets payback, nobody wins. Feuds, Power, Pride, and Payback. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Alligator Alcatraz, a new podcast from Calaroga Shark Media. They built a detention center in the Florida Everglades to separate families and break spirits. Surrounded it with alligators, figured that'd be the end of it. What they didn't count on was Tommy Esperanza, a quiet maintenance worker who turned their bureaucratic nightmare into something extraordinary. While corrupt politicians profited from human suffering and incompetent officials created disasters with PowerPoint presentations, Tommy built an underground network that reunited families, exposed massive fraud, and brought down a congressman. Where the Gators were smarter than the guards, families fought back against systematic cruelty, and one man proved that wisdom beats authority every single time. Alligator Alcatraz. Available wherever you get your podcasts.